Okay, does everybody want to come back and ask questions? You can turn your videos back on now. And
is anyone still listening? Oh, thank God, there's faces.
be very funny. It was just the two of us going, where'd everyone go? Julie.
Hi. So I was wondering, you'd mentioned being called out around honesty. And I was wondering with your memoir, if you got pushback about what was true and how you dealt with that, knowing that you had been as honest as you possibly could be.
I had my former sister-in-law and I have had a fine relationship, but it wasn't a particularly rich or strong one. And so I thought, she's not particularly essential to this story I want to tell about myself and this thing I want to write. So I just didn't include her at all. And the day it was published, she called me furious and was like, I was like, I'll leave her out. I don't want to, get into her life. I don't want to offend her. And she called me and was like, why am I not in this book? I mean, she was furious. And it was like, I thought I was doing something very thoughtful. And instead I had pissed her off. But all of which is a way to say, my strong feeling is if they liked you before you publish the thing, they're going to like you afterwards. If they didn't like you before you published the thing, or if they were kind of neutral on you, you're not going to win anyone over with your trenchant, Debbie, hi Debbie, with your trenchant, observation about how meaningful and complicated life is. So Van Bolen used to say something to the effect of, if they're not with you, then fuck them. I mean, she would say this very authoritatively, but I don't think it's bad advice. It might be crude advice, but it's not bad advice to say, if someone is with you, great. But if they're not, you're not gonna win them back or get them back. But no one challenged the facts of either of the memoirs. So that's been good.
Emiko.
Hi. I've written a lot about my childhood and all kinds of things, and then also present time, but I don't feel like I have a cohesive theme or cohesive anything to put it all together. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no point, or I've had trauma in my life, yes, but there are a million, I don't want to go there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like lost a mother young, father married 4 times. I don't want to write about that, So it's a desire to write, but I don't know how to put anything together. I've written about all kinds of things that have happened to me.
Can I respond to that, Sharon? Or
Oh yes.
Or are you asking? I'm sorry. Let me ask you. Are you asking someone to respond to that? Because I don't want to respond if you're not asking for a response. I apologize.
Emiko?
No, I'm asking for a response.
Okay, no. I didn't want to like mansplain or start bloviating.
No, I'm confused. Like just like my teacher will say, oh, well, there is a main story there, but it's like, what? I just read about this, I read about that. And some of them and they're very honest, but I don't see how I would put it together.
My experience, and I apologize if I seem glib or if my tone is wrong on this, because I really don't mean it to be, but my general observation is this may not be the case with you, but maybe just for everybody who's listening, when we say things like, I don't want to write about that, I don't want to go there, it often turns out over the course of, say, 10, 15 weeks of working together, it's more about like, I don't know how to find the path from where I am right now to that subject matter, and it's a deep frustration because we want to be articulate about the things that are happening to us, but we can't quite find the path to do it. So totally understandable. We avoid because we don't want to be inarticulate, or we don't want to, you don't want to start driving up the mountain if your car is going to bump on the road every way up the road. So it's often about sort of trying to find a path to write about that. There are all kinds of helpful writing teacher questions about it, but I think it often comes down to just honestly trying to figure out like, well, okay, what if I went at 5% of it? I'm not going to go about the whole thing. I'm just going to write about this one, and you start to sort of string the pearls together that way. and maybe you end up 12% of the way down the road, and then you have to step away from it for a year, you know, like, and then you can come back to it again later. But finding that path to write, I mean, most of us don't want to cathart and fall apart and then feel horrible. Like, I would always get sinus infections after I started crying because my ear would get all plugged up because I was blowing snot all through my whatevers. But you know what I mean? It's like, we don't want to do that. Our bodies and our minds want to keep us safe. So we have to find some very safe way to find that path. And I you have all my empathy in the world that yeah, you know, we spend most of our lives avoiding pain for good reason.
So John, to me, it sounds like what Amiko is looking for is an arc that ties it all together. But that's a novelist like take on it. So when you work with memoir, do you look for an arc? Like, do you kind of try and find, answer all those questions that we try and answer in fiction as to like, what does the, you know, what does, for lack of a better word, the protagonist learn? Like, where do they start? Where does it, you know, where does it pivot? Where does it end? Or is being someone who's written both, is the process significantly different on that count?
Yeah, I'm deeply skeptical of narrative arcs in memoir. I love it when someone else can do it because I gobble them up and swallow them down like filet of fish sandwiches from McDonald's, right? I mean, I can consume them with great joy and meaning. But I think generally, you know, this idea that you have to have a climax and a resolution, and so you have to have a conflict, and you have to have a setting, and you have to have a denouement. I mean, all of this just causes my head to just pound. So so if you have a beginning, middle, and an end, and you know what that is, great, right? But I think what you're saying, Amiko, is you have vignettes, and it feels like a weakness that there's not a narrative through line to that. What I would suggest is come at it from a lyrical approach. You know, abandon the need to start at the beginning and write to the end. Start with one thing that feels true to you, and then pivot to the next thing that is somehow tangentially connected. And then write only as much of that as feels legit and real to you. Then stop that and go to the next thing. You know, what's the guy's name? Nick Hornby said once, you know, I saw him give a reading in Indiana way back in the day. And he said, back in the day, 20 years ago, it's not that long ago. I saw him give a talk, and he said, you know, when he was trying to write Fever Pitch, which was his first novel, he knew he wanted to be a novelist because he knew he wanted to be famous, and he knew it was funny. He just didn't know how to write a novel. So what he did was he said, well, I know I can write 800 words. And he said, I know I lose interest, and I always want a new chapter to start after 800 words. So he wrote 68 800-word pieces, vaguely in the direction of a soccer season. And then he revised that into Fever Pitch. And so yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat here. And one of the ways, you know, if you don't want to start at the beginning and spend 14 years being a melancholy, Kenny G loving, magnet earring wearing, denim jacket wearing, jazz saxophonist aspiring, which is how I spent the first 14 years of my life, skip it and just jump right in with, you know, the year after my wife died, I compulsively watched television. You know, like I just, you know, and write about that for a little bit, you know, and sometimes that can be more generative because you just don't have any pressure that it has to have a narrative arc. I did not know how to write a memoir, and I'd never studied prose. I'd read a lot of prose, but I never studied prose. I'd taken an undergraduate class or a high school class or something, but I didn't know how prose worked. But I thought, okay, here's 15 books. If I could do anything that they're doing in these 15 books, that might be enough, you know? So just trying little things. But I think it's great advice. If you love a book and you want to sound like a writer, style is completely a product of imitation.
That is.
You know, if you think I'm wrong, you know, yeah.
No, I love what you're saying, and that all of us pick our 15 books that speak to us and really freaking like highlight, look at, examine, really, how did they do that? I love that advice. Anyway, so the second question about a good note from an asshole messenger.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, if what's the thing? If you meet the Buddha, kill him. I mean, like that sort of thing. It's like
Kill the editor? Wait,
well, no.
share-
I mean, just be open to the idea that a fool could give you really good advice.
yeah, true.
But the confidence in writing is deeply overrated. So somebody has a lot of confidence about what they're telling you to do. You know, it's like as we know from our present political circumstance, there are virtues much more valuable in life than confidence.
Yeah.
So you just have to sort of. I mean, this sounds dumb, but I think it's true. Like, the agents and the editors won't have a job unless we're doing our job writing, right? They can't exist unless we're producing it. So just remember, like, they can't put the cart too far ahead of the horse. They can't do it unless we're out here doing it. So they're going to edit a book. They're going to put it out into the world. They're going to edit another book. And one day they're going to have the penthouse apartment suite at FSG. But I have to live with the book for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So whatever their edit is, you know, they don't care. They're wonderful people and they're very smart, but they want to sell something.
Yeah.
I have to live with that title. And you know.
You've been great. And last thing, I remember when I was trying to sell my second book, I had a really fancy editor on the phone. And while I was on the phone with her, I heard a weird noise. I was like, what is that sound? And then I realized that while she was on the phone with me, she was going to the bathroom, and then I heard the toilet flush. And I went, if she's not smart enough to know how to do the mute, I don't care how fancy she is. Yeah, we're not a match. So, and I'll stop now and I'll put my mute back on. You've been awesome. Really awesome, John.
Cool,
Seriously. Thank you.
Okay, John, we're already 11 minutes over time for everyone. So unless there's anybody else has a pressing question? No?
I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to do this for as long as anybody wants to, but.
Okay, so why don't we have like a big round of applause for John, then I'll turn off the camera and then we can really let our hair down and ask him some real doozers. Woo, John.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Much.
I hope it was useful.
Thank you.